Hello everyone, I'm Frank and welcome to Frank Puzzles, and this is today's hard level difficulty puzzle, and it's called Divide and Conquer by E. Biggie. And here are the rules. We have normal Sudoku rules apply. Place the digits 1 through 9 in each row, column, and box. We have Kropki, where cells separated by a white dot are consecutive. There's an extra A there. I was a little confused by that. All white dots are given. So there is a negative constraint for white dots in this puzzle. So, for example, if this were, say, a 6, this would have to be 5 or 7. But these digits here could not be 5 or 7 because there's no white dot in between them. Hence, because of the negative constraint, we know if the two cells share an edge and they don't have a white dot between them, they cannot be consecutive. So keep that in mind. We have palindrome, where it's a gray line, where digits along the gray palindrome line must read the same forwards and backwards. So it must read the same going this way as it does going this way. And that's how palindrome lines work. We have even and odd, where cells with a gray square, which is only that one, must contain an even digit. And so this must be even, and this cells with a gray circle must contain an odd digit. So this is odd. And finally, we have killer cages, where the sum of the cells in a cage must equal the total given for that cage. Digits in a cage do not repeat. So, for example, if this were, say, a 4, this would have to be a 7, because these two digits must add up to 11, because there's a cage that surrounds them both, and it has an 11 in the upper left-hand corner. And those are all the rules. If you like to play along, there's going to be a link in the description. And now, I'm going to get started. Let's go. Okay. How do we attack this? Maybe let's start by attacking these. So the palindromes, let's start by making them letters. We have A and A, B and B, C and C. These are D. These are E. We have F, and these are both G. Interesting. Let's make these Z, Y, X, W, whoops, V, U, T, and these are S. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Huh. So Z is obviously not the same as X, W, and U. Can't be the same as V. It cannot be the same as T. Z cannot be here, cannot be here. Can't be the same as T again. Can't be the same as X. So Z has to be one of these two. Okay. If Z is here, it's also A, D, or B. Okay, yeah. Z cannot be the same as X or Y. Z cannot be here. That's not helpful. Anyways, C cannot be here in box 6. And it cannot be the same as U. either, or it could be the same as S. So A, B, and D have to match one of these cells here. Okay. It also must match one of these 6 cells here. This is odd, so this must be even to be consecutive with it. This is even here, so both these are even, obviously. X, well, we don't know. Z is one of these two. Okay. A, B, and D must match U, X, Y, Z, W, or one of these cells. U, X, Y, Z, or W. And then, or this consecutive cell here. Or sorry, this cell that is consecutive with X. Okay. So X and Y are here, X and Y in here, so X and Y in column 9 must be one of these 3. So X and Y cannot be C, and they can't be A, B, and D. Okay, so Y has to be one of these 3. And then it cannot be the same as S, so Y is one of those 2. X has to be, cannot be C, so X is one of these 2. And then X cannot be S either. So this is an XY pair here. So this is guaranteed to be X and Y because there's no other place for them in box 4, right? Y is here, so Y has to be, cannot be A, B, and D. So it cannot be here, cannot be here. It must be one of these 3, which means, and it can't be S. Y, Y, X, X, W, W, V, V, U, U, T, T, and SS. Okay. So we know this is an XY pair. That means this digit here. So we have X and Y here. U, W, and Z in this unknown cell must match A, B, D, and Z. Or sorry, A, B, D in this cell here. So let's make this, I guess, H. We'll make this H and this I. So A, B, D match Y, U, and W. No, not Y, U, and W. U, W, and Z. Or H. U, W, Z. Okay. What else do we have? So that means we have X, Y, S, T, U, W, and Z. All are different digits. Right? Again, X and Y cannot be A, B, or D. So Y here eliminates Y here in box 1, and it cannot be B, A, D. So Y has to be here, which means Y has to be one of these. It cannot be S, so it's one of these 2. X cannot be A, B, D for the same reason, so it's one of these 3. Can't be C because of this cell. So that's one of these two. And because it can't be here and here in box 4, can't be S, it has to be here. So this is an XY pair. So we know all of these digits are unique. So T and V with X and Y, ZW are all unique. So T and V cannot be S, cannot be any of these. So this must be a TV pair. So this is T and V. Um, hmm. We have V cannot be any of these cells, can't be T, cannot be W or Z. So V is either U. No, V can't be. Oh, well, we know V's here. V's here. V could be C. So V can be any of these three. We also have T. T cannot be. T's here. T's here. So T has to be one of these three. Okay. Hmm. So C cannot be Y, can't be A, B, or D. Can't be T, but it could be V. Could be S also. G is here and here. Okay. X and H are consecutive. So that's interesting. None of these digits here are consecutive with each other. Obviously, X and Y are not. If this is V, this is V, V, and one of these is V. So V is there. So, okay, we know we have Z, Y, X, W, U, T, V, and S. So the only digit missing then has to match here. So this has to be H. So H and H are here. Z obviously is not there or there. Okay. This could be H, and it could be Z. Not helpful. T and this digit are consecutive. So this cannot be T because this is consecutive with U. And T, there would have to be a dot between these if that were the case. So T is not there. T is consecutive with another digit here. That is interesting. So it could be the same as this digit. Obviously, okay, so... Huh. Y and U. So again, A, B, and D. This has to match. We have no X, Y. It's U, W, H, or Z. And this is also U, W, H, or Z. This is obviously S. TV matches that. XY matches that. S and S match. So HU, HUWZ. This is obviously H. So this is an interesting mix. So H, W, and Z all have to be these digits here, right? It cannot be X and Y. So Z is one of these two. Where is H? H cannot be here or here, so H has to be one of these. W cannot be here or here, so W can be one of these three. W cannot be the same as T. H can't be the same as T. So, right. So because of that, again, so H, W, and Z, where can they be? Z cannot be here, here. It cannot be T or X. So Z is one of those two. H cannot be here or here, and it cannot be T. So this is H and W. No, H and Z as a pair. So this is not UW. Okay, so let's clear this. This has to be H or W. I can't. H or W. Not H or W. H or Z. And this is H or Z. Right? Because H and Z cannot be here. They cannot be the same as T because T has to be there. Huh. So does the... Was that logic sound? I'm trying to think. Yes. Okay, so this is HUWZ. HUWZ. This cannot... These four are the same. We have S as the same. X and Y are the same, so T and V have to be here. Right. So this is HG. HG is a pair. Therefore, this is W guaranteed. So this is W, which means this is W. So A, B, or D is W here. Okay, and W and T are consecutive. That's interesting. H or Z and X are consecutive. So it's likely X and H, but we don't know. This is HG, HZ, and HZ. So now the remaining digits here in box 7 are S and U. Right? We have T and V, X, Y, Z, H, and W are accounted for. This is U and S. U can't be here because of U in the column. So this is S, which makes this U. Okay, so we have all these connected. U is not... Okay, so... Remaining... We have guaranteed T here. We have Y as one of these three. What's the remaining digit here? It's the other HZ, right? S is here, S is here. So this must be V, X, and S here. So C is V, X, or S. Cannot be X, obviously. So C is V or S. So we have S or V. This then is SV or X. This is SV or X. Right? V's here, so V has to be one of these. S is here, S is here, S has to be one of these three. X is here, X is here, X must be one of these three. So this has to be, obviously, we have T here, Y here, and then H or Z. We have U and W here. W is consecutive with T. And that means T is consecutive with something else. So T cannot be 1 or 9. So T is consecutive with both W and H, Y, or Z. Obviously not this one. Wait, but... So T is not consecutive with H or Z here. Because this HZ eliminates that possibility from being there. And this HGZ does not have a white dot between that and the T. So this has to be T and Y. Because T is not consecutive with U. So this has to be a TY pair. So we have T and Y here. This is not Y. This is H or Z, which is the same as this. So it's this one. We'll label this I guess. So I and U are consecutive. So it's consecutive with one of these two. T's here, so T has to be one of these three. So T's here. This is X, Y, and T. X, Y, and T here. This has to be what? SV and X? No X, obviously. V, obviously. No T. S cannot be here, so S has to be one of these three. So we have S, TX, and Y. So this is not consecutive with T and Y. If it's X, it's consecutive with another digit. Remaining digits here. So this is U and W. So this is S, V, H, and Z. S, V, H, and Z, right? That doesn't help. Anyways. So no V here, because we know it's basically... V has to be one of those three, and then we have X. So C is consecutive with SV or X. So S, V, or X. This HZ has to be the same as A, B, or D. Okay. So U is consecutive with I. So that's I, that's U. The other HZ cannot be C, obviously. T and Y are consecutive. T is also consecutive with W. So this T would not be consecutive with Y here. So this cannot be Y. This has to be X, and this is Y. Okay, so let's start coloring then. I'm going to make this light, medium, dark, and we have the same thing. T and Y are consecutive, so this cannot be T. That would be consecutive with Y. This is then V. This is not V. This is T here. Then we have, let's remove these for now. We have green, pink, orange, and red, yellow, blue. So let's match those. Z is blue, Y's are orange, X's are pink, W's are red, V's are dark, U's are green, T's are medium, and H's are yellow. S's is light. Okay. So remaining colors in column 2, we have SV and X. So light, dark, and pink. Okay. Pink cannot be here. So this is just light and dark. T and Y are medium and orange. This cannot be X, because if this were X, they would be consecutive, so this can't be pink either. So we know where X is in column 2. It has to be here. So this is pink and X. This cannot be X. This is S or V. So S and V are consecutive. Interesting. So S is light. So this cannot be the other SV because they would have to have a white dot in between them. So this is not SV. This is H and Z, which means this is not HZ. This is the other SV. So this is light and dark. So this is the other HZ. H and Z are yellow and blue. Okay, yellow and blue, yellow and blue, yellow and blue. But this is a different yellow and blue. Oh, this can't be H. Well, no, it could be H. Okay, never mind. We have the other, so H and Z. Let's, how do we do this? This is I, we'll make this J, I guess. So this is J, this has to be I. So we'll just remove the coloring here. So I is consecutive with both U and another digit. It cannot be consecutive with this one. Can it be consecutive with X? Yes. So T and Y are consecutive. S and V are consecutive. Maybe we should start looking at B, F, and G. And try to figure what those are. Okay. What can E be? E cannot be any of these, obviously, and cannot be S or W. It cannot be S, U, W, so it's TX or H. So this is TX or H as E. TX or H. It cannot be X, so it's H or T. So this is H or T, this is H or T. So that's yellow or medium for E. F. What can F be? It could be SUVWYZ. SUVWYZ. That's still a lot. So SUVWYZ cannot be V. So no V. SUWYZ. So that's still pretty broad. What is G? G can be STU, X, W, and H. H, S, T, U, W, X. Oops. Cannot be U or H. No U or H. No U or H. So S, T, W, and X are possibilities. Okay. So we know X is consecutive with both H. Well, we just know it's consecutive with H. I is consecutive with U and this cell here. T and Y are consecutive. T and W are consecutive. Okay, so if this were X here, if X were either of these spots, right, if X were either of these spots, T and Y would have to have a white dot in between them. So X cannot be either of these spots. So this, therefore, this has to be X here. So this is X, which means this is pink. T and Y are both here. So X is consecutive with both I and J. So we don't know which one. That means I is consecutive with both. So X has to be consecutive with both H and Z. So H is 2 through 8. I is consecutive with both U and X. So that's also 2 through 8. SV are consecutive. Okay. So this is X. That's consecutive with both I and any HZ, X is consecutive with. So this cannot be H or Z. So D cannot be H or Z. It's U or W. So this is consecutive with both of these. So A or B is the other HZ. What else do we have? This again. So E has to be, well, we don't know. D is not consecutive with either A or B. So D has to be U or W. So J has to match A or B, essentially. Okay, so J is one of those two. J is obviously one of those two. Okay. So we have these, which are consecutive, which is interesting. So I don't know what that means. These are consecutive. Okay, we know X is consecutive with both H and Z. Because we have I here, we have J here. Those are both H and Z. U is consecutive with I also, so I is not consecutive with any other digit. X cannot be here or here. So X can be one of these three. X can't be here or here. That means, and X could be Z. So it could be any of these four. Z is not consecutive with T, W, or S, and Y or H. It's consecutive with X, definitely. How about U and V? U or V? Well, we know A, B, and D are not consecutive. T and Y are consecutive. I'm going to pause because I need to go to the bathroom right now. I'll be right back. Okay, and I'm back. Let's continue. Okay, where were we? We had D. C cannot be consecutive with D or A. So S and V are consecutive. S next to U. So T is consecutive with W and Y. Right. T's here, so T cannot be here either. So X can't be here, T can't be here. Do we start color coding the central box? I don't know if that's that helpful. Well, maybe. But maybe letter the central box. Okay. Okay. It's kind of hard doing the backwards one with S through Z, but let's try it. So we have H with S through Z. Maybe we should make it R. That makes it a little clearer. Let's make it R. So those are R. This is an H or a Z. Sorry, R or Z. R or Z. R or Z. And these are not H. We'll now have R. R and Z. R and Z. R and T. R and T. Okay. So these digits have to be R through Z. R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Okay. R, U, and Y cannot be here. No R, U, Y. V, T, X can't be here. I don't know what I just did. V, T, X. This can't be W, S, or Z. No S or U or W. No R X or T, and no V, Y, or Z. Okay. We know STW, this combination cannot be 4, 5, 6, because they would have to have a consecutive dot between them. So it's either 4, 7, 3, 8 or 2, 9. It could be ST, WX, ST or WX. That's interesting. X is an even digit. That's also interesting. Right, so R and Z are both odd. Okay, R and Z are both odd. X is even. Okay. That means one of these has to be odd. Okay. Remaining digits. X can't be here. X can't be here. So X is one of these four also. Not helpful. So T is consecutive with W and Y. X is consecutive with R and Z. So we have W to T to Y. WTY is consecutive. We have I is consecutive with X and U. So IXU is consecutive. And then so it's U, I, X, and then J. So IU, X, J. So it's U, I, X, and J. So U is even. So U is even. U and X are both even. R and Z are both odd. We have W, T, and Y. What are these digits? These digits can be no X's in either. Oh. Well, it's not true. X is either here or X is here. So again, where is X in column 6? It cannot be the same as E because why can't this X sees E? Cannot be here because of X's in the rows. So X has to be one of these three. Again, X is consecutive with R or Z. So R cannot be any of these. Well, R cannot be here. R can't be here either because of the R in the row. T we have is consecutive with Y. And it's consecutive with W. Interesting. Again, this is 2938 or 47. I'm trying to figure out the consecutive digits here. Remaining digits in column 6 are, we have STUXRW. Okay, so X obviously can't be there. Remaining digits in column 5 here are SUV SUV, WYZ. Okay. You cannot have T and Y here, because that would eliminate all possibilities for that cell. These are just the ones that we have. You could have... Um, hmm. Huh. What about these? No V, T, and X, so it's U, R, Y, W, Z, S. Okay, and yeah, U, R, Y, W, Z, S. U is consecutive with R and Z. Y we only know it's consecutive with T. Yeah, maybe we need to figure out what digits can be consecutive with which. So we know it's J is on U is on one end. You have U, I, X, J. So U is consecutive, we know, with I. I is consecutive, which, okay, we don't have that there. We're going to use R right now as the placeholder for I. Oh, R cannot be this one, because R is consecutive. These two are consecutive. Okay, so then we know this cannot be R, because then there would be a dot between these. So this has to be J, or Z, sorry. So I is Z. Okay, so this is Z, which makes this Z. That makes this R. This is Z. So no Z here. This is R, U, and W. Okay, no Z here, R, U, and W. So no, we don't have to have a J anymore. So we know Z is between U and X. Okay, so that's good. So then this is blue, and this is blue, and this is yellow. So Z is between U and X. So this cannot be U here. So B is not U. This is blue. So this cannot be Z here. Z is not consecutive with S or V. That's interesting. X is not consecutive with T or Y. Well, we already know that. X is consecutive with R and Z, specifically. Hmm. S and V are consecutive, or not. S and V, S and V. V is here. Okay. So Z we know is consecutive only with U and X. Okay, so yeah, let's do this. U is consecutive with Z. R is consecutive with X. Y is consecutive with T. V is consecutive with S. T is consecutive with both Y and W. X is consecutive with both R and Z. Z is consecutive with X and U. W is consecutive with T, and S is consecutive with B. Okay, that's interesting. So, um, hmm. So these are consecutive right now. Okay, there's no Z here. Z is consecutive with U and X. So this could be Z and this could be U. That's possible. Um, hmm. So again, this is S, T, W, and X. Hmm. Um, hmm. This digit is not consecutive with either of those. Okay. These digits are consecutive. Um, so we have three that have all of them connected. We have four more that must be connected to something else. Okay. S and V are not connected to Z. Well, but Z we already know is connected to two different ones, distinct ones. So is X. That's why T and Y doesn't really matter here. If this were T, so Z and R are both odd. Okay. So Z and R are 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. X is 2, 4, 6, 8. U is 2, 4, 6, 8. One of T or W. Okay, so this is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. One of T or W is even because they're both consecutive. One of S or V is even because they're both consecutive. So Y has to be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 also. Interesting. T. We don't know. So one out of T or W is even. One of S or V is even. We know R is one of these two and is odd. Okay. Does this help us any? Okay, so all the evens, so U has to be connected to something else. All the odd digits are the ones that could be 1 or 9, which only is consecutive with one digit. So U must be connected with something else. So V, we don't know if it's odd or even. X is even. T, we don't know is odd or even. So that's not helpful. X is consecutive with R and Z, and this can only be R, Y, or Z. Right? It can't be any of these. Cannot be T or V. Can't be X. Can't be R or Z because X is consecutive with this, so this is Y. Interesting. So this is Y and is orange. That eliminates Y from the rest of the row and box. So Y is here, which means Y is one of these three. This can't be V because that would be consecutive with it. This can't be T because that would be consecutive with that. T could be next to U or V. Either one works. So again, this can't be any of these colors. That's interesting. So U or V is green or dark. Okay. Right, this could have been orange, except that we have the Y, remove that there. Okay, so this is U or V. Y is consecutive with T, so this can't be T here. Interesting. Okay, so let's remove the outer edges. That's not helpful for now. Let's move X, remove X, remove X, X. Okay, so this is R or X, which makes that yellow or pink. Because it cannot be V here, because S would be consecutive with that. Can't be any of these colors. Can't be orange, because that's orange. Blue has to be one of these three. X is consecutive with R and Z. That's fine. Y is an odd. X is an even. T we don't know. F is SU or Z, so no Y. Y cannot be here. Cannot be any of these. So Y has to be one of these two. Oops. Y is one of these two. Okay. This cannot be Y and T here. We have Y here. Y is one of these three. D is in both places here. So R is guaranteed to be next to U and W. And not be consecutive with it. Right? R and U are consecutive here, not consecutive there. This is S, T, W, and X. X we know is even. Okay. Not helpful. Okay, what digits can this be? We have U, R, Y. No, cannot be R because we're guaranteed an R here. So u and y, vt or x. Okay. No x because of x in the column. So t, u, v, or y. T, u, v, or y. R is in between one digit, next to one digit. Z is between two digits, so Z has to be 3, 5, or 7. Y could be 1 or 9. Ah, interesting. Okay. So T and Y, one of the T is even. Oh, T has to be even because Y is next to that. Right. So T has to be even. 1 out of S and V is even. In Z, we know R. Hold up. So this is even here. A and B both have to be odd. We have an even in TY, an even in SV, and an even in X, and this is even. So both A and B have to be odd. And since both A and B are odd, neither of them can be U, so D is U. So D is U here. So this is U, which makes this green. And this is green. So both of these are odd. Because we have, so this is R and W. We can remove J. RW here. This is RW. So U is even, because it's the only even left in that possible in box 1. Because X is even, 1 out of S or V is even, 1 out of T or Y is even. So R and W are here. U cannot be consecutive with A or B because it's next to both of them without a white Kropke dot between them. So it has to be with the other. So all of. So no R or W is consecutive with U. So use consecutive with Z, and it could be V or Y. It cannot be V. Because if S U is consecutive with V, they would have a white Kropke dot there. So, and again, it's consecutive. It's next to an S without being consecutive with that, and U is guaranteed to be consecutive with 2 odd digits. So it has to be Z and Y. Because it's not consecutive with R and W because of the AB pair here next to the U. And those are both R and W. Can't be consecutive with S, can't be consecutive with V because no white Kropke dots next to those, so it must be Y and Z. So Y is between U and T. U is between Z and Y. So Y is between U and Z, so therefore it's not 1 or 9. It's 3, 5, or 7. So that means... Right. 1 out of S or V is even, 1 out of... Yeah, S or V is even. Therefore, since T is even... That means W is odd. W is next to T. So one of these is guaranteed to be 5 here, right? Because y and z are both consecutive with u. And so one of these is 5, which eliminates 5 in the rest of the box. So u must be 4 or 6. Okay. So we have then, we know we have R is consecutive with X, which is consecutive with Z. RXZ to U to Y to T. And T is consecutive with an odd digit. And it cannot be S or V. So T is consecutive with W. Oh, we already knew that. T and W are consecutive. So T is consecutive with W and... Okay, so how does that work? So we have, again, we have R to X, X to Z, Z to U, U to Y, Y to T, and T to W. Okay. So the questions are R, W with S and V. R is consecutive with S, without being consecutive with, or sorry, next to S without being consecutive. W is next to V without being consecutive. So yeah, let's see if we can make sure we have the order. So we have R next to X next to Z. Z is next to U, which is next to Y. Y is next to T. T is next to W. Okay, so that's one, and then we have S and V. So either R or W is odd. So the odd one here, okay, so T and X has to be one of the evens. So T or X is one of the evens. Okay. You have either 3, 4, 5, 6. So U is 4 or 6. Y or Z is 3, 5, or 7. So S and V are consecutive. It's either 1, 2, or 8, 9, or it's... Yeah. S and V are 1, 2, or 8, 9. That's interesting. Which are the ones that are potentially consecutive? R could be with S. Um, S can be with R and W. U and Z are consecutive. So this can never be U because U is only consecutive with Z or Y, and this can't be Y or Z. So S could be here consecutive with either R or W. You could have U and Z here. How about here? R can be consecutive again. S can be consecutive. S and V can be consecutive with R or W. You could have U and Z or U and Y both work. So this is U with Z or U with Y, and this can't be Z or Y. So this can't be U here. What else? Hmm. Okay, so we have T and X are the evens. They can be with W or S. Well, this cannot be T and W because those are consecutive. Um, hmm. So R could be 1 through 7. Okay, so what happens if R is 1? If R is 1, that means X is 2, Z is 3, U is 4, Y is 5, T is 6, W 7. That means 8 and 9 to add up. Well, you could have X2 with 9. That would be S. T and W cannot be here. But you could have T and S potentially. Okay. So if X, okay, so if this is T, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That means X would be 2, T would be 6, and cannot have 5, 6 here. So it would have to be X and S here as combination. If you have this being 3 through, well, it could be the other way around, right? 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. So S would be next to W then. Huh. So Y is next to T and U, so this cannot be U either. It's consecutive with T and U, I should say. So these are all odd. Okay, so these are odd. Both R and W are odd, which means this must also be odd because we need 3 odds to add up to 13. You cannot have t here, that's even. You can't have u here because that's even. You could have v or y here. Okay. So r and w are at 2 ends. If we had 3 and 9, can it ever be y here is the question. Yes, 1, 5, and 7. Okay. So these are all odd. So this is v or y. What are the remaining digits in row 6? What are we missing? We have RTXUV. Okay, so that's all of them there. Okay. R is odd, T is even. So it could be RYW if it's 1, 5, and 7. Or this would be 1, 7, and 5, I guess. Can it be... What can it be with V? VRW would be 1, 3, and 9. That could work too. Either way, we're guaranteed this is 1. That doesn't help us much. Yeah, that's not helpful. What about this? Again, okay. So 1 through... If this is 1 and 2, T would obviously be 6. So this would be 2 and 9 as a pair here, with X being 2 and S being 9. If we have 9 down to 1 going this way, X would be 8. 9, 8, 7, 6. You cannot have T and Z add up. That would be 4 and 7. So it would have to be, again, X plus S. And it would be 3 and 8 here. Okay, what happens if S and V are next to R? That means this is 3 through 9. So this would be 3, 4. 5, 6, 7. So it cannot be X and Y. 7, 8. It would be T and S together, adding up to so can it ever be W, I guess is the question, right? So again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It could be it could be S and W. I think this has to be S no matter what then, right? Because... So 1 through 9, if it's that way, we have X is 2, T is 6, W is 7. None of 7s add up with T or X to add up to 11. Then you have 9 down to 1. You have, that means X is 8, T is 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. T is 4, and W is 3. Oh, wait, no, it would be W and X there. Dang it. Okay, so that's right. Okay, so W and X is there. Okay, never mind. interesting. A is next to both C and the other digit. So A has to be at the end. Because A is if yeah, C and so S and V both add up to both are consecutive. And they're consecutive with either R or with W. Well, in that case, that means aha. So that means A is consecutive with being R or W is consecutive with both of them, right? C is here, C is here. That's consecutive. That's next to A, but not consecutive. And I'm keep saying consecutive. It's not consecutive. It's adjacent to both C and its counterpart or its consecutive partner. And so it's guaranteed to be, therefore, A is guaranteed to be 1 or 9. And B has to be, so A is not consecutive with either C and its consecutive partner, so therefore A has to be the 1 or the 9, right? Then you have B, which is consecutive only with the non-C partner. So that means the non-C partner must be odd and C must be even. So C is even. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8 here. These are both odd. T is 2, 4, 6, 8. B has to be 3 or 7, I believe. So A is 1 or 9 because it's not consecutive with both the C and the non-C. Or sorry, they're adjacent to both the C and the non-C, and they're not consecutive with either. B has to be the 3 or the 7 corresponding. So it's either 1, 7, 5 or 3, 9, 1. T, okay. Right. So C is 2 or 8, guaranteed. Okay. Hmm. Huh. Um. Okay. Hmm. So fx is here. This is w. So that's not helpful. The other s or v has to be 1 or 9. Right? Huh. Okay. Um. Hmm. Okay. We've narrowed things down. Now we still have to figure out where everything is. Hmm. So, if this is S with R and W, this could not be Z and U. So U or Z would have to be here. Oh, say this was U. If this was U, that means Z could not be either of these, but this can't be Z here, so I don't think this can be U, right? If this is U, then the problem is that, right, if this is U, it would guaranteed be next to a Z, because Z is consecutive only with U out of these letters. Z is consecutive with X and U, but X can't be here because of X in the column, and X can't be here. X can't be here because of X in the row. So if Z were one of these, it would be consecutive with U. So if U were here, that means Z cannot be here. Z would have to be one of these two, and then it would have to have a dot between them, which is not possible. So U cannot be here. Therefore, in box 5, where is the U? It has to be here. So this is guaranteed to be U. Um, hmm. Therefore, use one of these three. This can never be Z, because again, if this were Z, oh, and Z cannot be consecutive. Z is consecutive with U, so this can't be Z here. Well, Z, where is Z then? In row 6. Well, either this is U or this is U. If this is U, Z can't be any of these, so Z would have to be here, but it would be consecutive with a digit it can't be consecutive with. So this must be a U-Z pair. So this has to be U and Z, which makes this green and blue. So that's green and blue, which means this cannot be U and Z here. If S were here, it would be guaranteed to be next to R or W. R and W. And it would have to be next to one of them, right? So this cannot be S. This is R or W. And it's specifically, well, we have now an SW-SW pair. Why can't this be R? Because it sees that R there. So both of these see the R. So this has to be R. So this is R here, which means this cannot be R here. So this is T. So E is T. This can't be R here. It's X. Okay. So this is X. This is T. This is T. So this cannot be T here. So this must be Y, which means this can't be Y here. That's T. So this is T. This is Y. Not T. This is Y. This is R. So there's no T possible here. No X can be here. This is S or W. No R here, no T here. One of these is U. And U cannot be here because of U in the row. So this is S and W. This is S and W. This can't be S or W. It's U. Which means this can't be S or W. It's X. So this is X. Interesting. So S or W is here. We're not sure which. S and W and S and W are here. That eliminates S and W in the rest of the box. This can't be X anymore. This is a VZ pair. V and Z. Which can be next to Y. V cannot be next to S, and one of these is guaranteed to be S. So this can't be V, this is Z, which makes this blue. This is then V. So this is Z. So no, this is no U, no Z, SW as a pair. This cannot be S or W. It's V, Y, or Z here, next to SW here. W can only be next to T or S or W. Sorry, S or V. So it cannot, and this cannot, this then has to be V, I think. Right? Y is consecutive with U and T, and this can't be U or T. Z is only consecutive with U or X, and this can't be U or X. So this has to be V. And V, we know, is guaranteed to be consecutive with S. So this has to be V, and this is S. So this is light, and this is dark. Which means this is not light or dark. F is the same as W. Which is red. So this is red, red. This is X. So this is pink. That leaves this as this is red. This is red, and this is light. Okay. T is even. Red is odd. So that means this must be odd too. T. So it must be odd, which means it's either R, Z, or Y, or it can't be V. So this is blue, yellow, or red. Blue, yellow, or yeah, and blue cannot be either of these because so this is a yellow-orange pair. Therefore, this is blue. So blue, red, and medium add up to 14. Orange cannot be here, so this is yellow. Yellow cannot be here, so that's orange. R is here, so this cannot be R. So it must be W. So this is red. So B's are red, and yellows are W. Or sorry, yellows are A. Okay. Remaining digits in row 4 are light and medium. Remaining digits in row 6 are orange, dark, and what's the last one? Orange, dark, and yellow. Right. Orange, dark, and yellow. Okay, so that means red is 3 or 7. That equates to W. And R is 1 or 9, so X is 2 or 8. So this is 2 or 8 here. And red is 3 or 7. So that means reds must be 3. So reds are 3. X's are 8. 8's only consecutive with 9. So this can't be yellow here. This can't be yellow here. This is definitely yellow here. So yellows are 9. Therefore, this must be 1 and is V. So not orange. So darks are 1. So this C's cannot be darks. C's are light, and light, this can't be light here. So C's are dark, so this cannot be dark here. That's orange. So these are 1. Z's have to be 7. So that's 7. U's have to be 6. Z's are, Y's are 5. S's have to be 2. So we don't know what this is. Okay, so we'll clear that. S's are 2. And T's are 4. Okay, so this is... we don't know what these are. Okay, so we have all that. We have... what's ones? Ones, we have 8 ones. We know where the last one has to be. It has to be here. Let's just make that dark light. We should have 8 lights. We don't. Never mind. We don't have that. Reds, we have 8 reds. We know where the last red has to be. It has to be here. 4. We don't have all those. 5s. This can't be 5 anymore, so that's orange there. We have 8 oranges. We know where the last orange has to be. It has to be there. Greens, we have 8 greens, so we know where the last green has to be. It has to be there. Blues, we have 8 blues. We know where the last blue has to be. It has to be there. Pinks, we have 8 pinks. We know where the last pink is. It has to be there. Yellows, we have 8 yellows. We know where the last yellow has to be. It has to be there. That leaves this digit as a, what? We have light and medium left. This can't be light. This is medium. This is light then. This can't be light. This is light and medium. So this is medium. This is light, which makes this medium. Or, sorry, yeah, this medium. So the lights are 2. Okay, so we have 1. Oops. One, darks, medium, light 2, red 3. That's 3 in the corner. We celebrate because we know we're close to solving it. Mediums are 4. Oranges are 5. Greens are 6. Blues are 7. Pinks are 8. And this is 9. Okay, so let's check, I guess. I don't know. That's a long check. Let's just do it. 9. Wow, your battle strategy was absolutely magnificent. A super great solve. Thank you. That was... yep, that was definitely hard. The logic behind some of this was definitely interesting, right? Particularly this part. This part was the difficult stuff. And you had to basically figure out where could each letter be, right, in this row. But it did lead to some interesting scenarios, right, where we had SW pair here. So that was interesting, too. Fascinating. I love it because it's just coloring, and I love coloring a lot. Coloring and letters. Letters makes this a lot easier. Coloring, it gets a little hairy until you can start restricting things a lot, right? And then once we can start restricting things, that makes things easier, but the lettering still makes it much easier to spot, like, you know, these pairs here, right? These doubles, these naked doubles, I think. Is that what they're called? It's been so long since I've talked about normal Sudoku's terminology. So, um, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this solve, and I'll see you next time on Frank Puzzles. Take care.